Hi, welcome. I'm Deanna Morrow. I'm a senior national account manager that works with, if not all, most of the districts in in Maryland. Um, and this is a TCI presentation on the ABCs of HQIM, unpacking high quality instructional materials and what that looks like with the brand new TCI Geography Alive, Maryland 6th and 7th grade. We are going to cover a lot of material today. It's going to be quick, down and dirty, and we're going to start. There we go. We're going to cover what are the common elements of HQIM. Why is HQIM important? How does HQIM relate to social studies? And then we're going to dive into the Geography Alive Maryland 6th and 7th grade editions. So, what is the buzz around high quality instructional materials? Well, there's been a lot of research in the last couple of years, and a number of those studies from Rand and Johns Hopkins have been released. And what they say is that 90% of all teachers are going to the internet to find resources, or they're spending time trying to create their own materials. And when they break out, why that is, most educators feel like they don't have high quality instructional materials to meet the needs of their students. But what happens is the research shows that this approach leaves many educators to rely on trial and error when assessing the effectiveness of the materials that they piece together. And the content across classroom to classroom or even school to school at the same grade level is extremely inconsistent. So when we look at, on average, teachers spend 7 hours per week searching for instructional materials. And if we look at secondary education, and most of us teach a traditional 55 or 60-minute week class period, each class period, 7 hours is more time to create the curriculum than we see our children in a week. And then on average, teachers spend 5 hours a week creating their own content. So added together, that's 13 additional hours that teachers are spending creating or looking for resources to meet their needs. And that means they're sacrificing either their nights or their weekends. And in most cases, they're sacrificing both. So, what the research also shows us is that high quality instructional materials help students perform better and it saves teachers time. And that time is so important. It's our single most valuable resource because at TCI, we want to give you back your nights and weekends because we want you focusing on what's important, which is the students in front of you. We want you focusing on them, not spending your nights and weekends looking for or creating high quality instructional materials. So if you're not familiar with TCI, TCI stands for Teachers Curriculum Institute, and we're a company by educators for educators. Everybody who works for TCI is or was a classroom teacher, and we're committed to providing teachers with high quality instructional materials to create the best learning experience for all of their students. Now, there have been evaluations all over the world, all over the country, specifically for high quality instructional materials. However, very few of them have focused on social studies. And as we know, the complexity of social studies is not like any other content area. So there are statewide initiatives to help with HQIM for social studies. And I always, want to put this map into my presentation because Maryland has developed a rubric that is specific to social studies, and not many states, even those that are trying to develop HQIM evaluations, haven't created them for social studies yet. So in Maryland, you're very fortunate to have an evaluation system or framework to help you to select or look at and evaluate high quality instructional materials. And we want to take a look at what are the common elements and how do they relate to social studies. So in the high quality instruction material identification framework, the group has identified 4 common characteristics to high quality instructional materials. And those include design to affirm students, grade level and standards aligned, The instructional materials have instructional design and educator supports. So when we look at the first uh, characteristic, designed to affirm, the domains that fall within that in the HQIM framework include culturally responsive, sustaining instruction and affirming instruction. And with TCI, we have our classroom activities and the experiences that the students have in their classroom provide them an opportunity in every single lesson to express themselves and to provide themselves an opportunity to learn from one another. TCI allows students to express themselves and explicitly provides primary sources and skills that will help students to become civic-minded citizens. And they can do that through inquiry project or multiple places within our program so that they can take action and solve public issues within their community. The primary sources will help them to connect to today's learners and provide opportunities through the processing assignment, through writing within geography at the unit level. We have a writing for understanding strategy. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that students develop their vocabulary, whether it's presenting in their own language, their primary language, their initial language, or if they present material through a format that allows them to express themselves most comfortably, we want to give them those opportunities so that they can develop and assess and make those connections with themselves and the world around them. When we look at our grade level standards and the 5 domains that are going to be found within the grade level and standard align based on the Maryland frameworks, when we look at the program, and so this is going to be unit 1 of 6th grade, you're going to see that the right at the beginning here, we want to introduce students to inquiry challenge. And then within that inquiry challenge, we provide students a variety of additional sources to help them support the process of inquiry. We're going to talk quite a bit about inquiry during our next 25 minutes together. But I want to make sure that you can see that we want to make sure that we're setting the students up in a unit perspective. We provide a geography challenge that has students watching a video to understand where did people settle, why do people live where they live, including we want to make sure that they have an inquiry challenge so that they can look at some of the community concerns to become civics educators to take informed action. And then we provide multiple lesson options for the teachers and students in the classroom with several lessons per unit. And if we look at the Maryland framework, what you'll see is the lesson titles come directly from that framework, as does the unit essential question and each chapter's essential question. At the unit closer, the students and teachers will have a timeline challenge, and there's always a component for writing and social studies. So this is yet another opportunity that provides students a chance to express themselves and to learn from one another. I have the TCI flip book, and this is the PDF document of the 6th grade. And in the beginning of the textbook, we want to make sure that we're teaching students how to unwrap a TCI inquiry-based unit and what that looks like. We set the stage with inquiry and we talk about the 4 steps of inquiry and we embed those and we stair step it and scaffold it for all of the students and teachers. And we provide critical thinking toolkits, writing toolkits, and taking action toolkits to support teachers and students in that process. We break it out with explicit instructions and we provide a variety of different types of inquiry, whether it's student driven or guided. There's 4 different types of inquiry that will be found within found within the 6th grade program and the 7th grade program, but there's only one inquiry per unit. We also support literacy through social studies with the reading and writing and speaking and listening. In every one of our teaching strategies, students have an opportunity to speak and to listen to others. And then, of course, there's reading and writing embedded into each lesson. Our considerate text allows students to access the content with an emphasis on vocabulary development, how the structure is written with the spread being one page, with appropriate images, graphs, maps, and charts. This is the table of contents that we just looked at. And then when we start thinking about the geographic thinking and the geography challenge or our inquiry project, looking at it step by step, we want to make sure that we embed and provide primary sources, whether those are written documents or maps, charts, graphs, and images to help students answer the unit's essential question and to answer the supporting questions that they've written within their inquiry. When we look at our unit inquiry challenges in the writing and social studies, this is the digital format. So you can see the purple sidebar on the side. So if and when you have access to the TCI digital platform, you can see that I'm on the unit overview page, and the unit overview page will have my inquiry challenge, my geography challenge, and then all of the chapters that I'm going to teach within this unit. In our inquiry challenge slide deck, we provide for the students each step along the way of that inquiry. So students will watch a short video about how to develop questions, and then Step two's video will help them use disciplinary sources. And this is where we really encourage students to use the four core of social studies, including civics, economics, geography, and history, and how those four core of social studies relate to the content that they're learning in Geography Alive and how they are connected to the inquiry project. With the Inquiry Challenge and Project, we provide students both in the print interactive student notebook and the digital platform an opportunity to read additional sources. And then we encourage teachers and students to learn more and find their own sources. Within the TCI platform, we provide a variety of sources found in our enhancing learning and our dive deeper, as well as the sources that the students will find within the inquiry project, coupled with the lesson that the students will use. So TCI provides four places to find additional sources to help with inquiry, but we also know that teachers have spent their career gathering resources that they may want students to use and encourage. But we want to let you know that that is not an expectation that you spend your nights and weekend finding these sources. We'll help you do that and provide the students a place after each chapter to come back to. This is chapter one, why study Earth and the people that live in it, what sources they find, and then the evidence that they've gathered. After they've gathered their evidence, they're going to communicate conclusions using claim, evidence, and reasoning. We provide them with the video that explains that to them. And each of these videos are usually about 2 minutes long and help students process how to put the inquiry projects together. Again, whether it's print or digital, we want to give them a space where they make their summative argument, answering the unit essential question, and then the supporting questions they have with their claim and evidence. And then finally, the fourth step is to take informed action. So we want students to understand, assess, and act, and that can come in a variety of different ways. TCI provides a taking action toolkit at the point of use. And the toolkit will provide PDFs, whether it's a service-based action or a product-based action. It will have blackline masters to help students understand what they need to be doing to take informed action. And I always like to let teachers know that informed action can be something as simple as creating a presentation for their class or a poster, or having lunch with an administrator and sharing their claim, evidence, and reasoning. So taking informed action doesn't necessarily mean that they have to use the toolkit, but we want to provide it in case you want to use it. Now let's take a look at the instructional design element of the HQIM Maryland framework. So, building knowledge and skills, student agency, and monitoring progress and supporting students fall under the category of instructional design. So, TCI has always had six powerful teaching strategies, and each of these strategies has an element where students will work with one another to access and engage with social studies content. So, whether it's an experiential exercise where the students feel and intrapersonally relate to something happening in history or geography, or writing for understanding, where we give students an activity, a hands on experience that they have something to write about. We want to make sure that students have an opportunity to express themselves and the content that they're learning. So, when we look at our six powerful teaching strategies, they're based on five educational theorists. So, I'm going to leave this up here for just a second. So, if you have your phone nearby, like most of us always do, if you want to grab your camera and you want to scan this QR code, we can also send this to you after the webinar is over with the recording of the video. But you can download the Teaching Strategies Toolkit and how the five educational theorists with understanding by design, non-linguistic representation, multimodal learning, cooperative interaction, and spiral curriculum or scaffolding, how those theorists relate to our six powerful teaching strategies. And there's one strategy for every chapter so that the students can work together collaboratively. Once we get into a lesson, each unit has an essential question, but then each chapter also has the lesson or chapter, those are synonymous at TCI, essential question. The students can on this page here, this is the lesson overview. So you can see on the purple sidebar, I'm on my lesson overview page. And the lesson overview page has everything that I need as a teacher to plan to teach, and to assess my students. In the upper right-hand corner, I can open up my lesson planning. And my lesson planning will give me an overview with my lesson essential question. It'll give me my social studies objectives as well as my language arts objectives and the skills. It tells me what my vocabulary will be and all of the skills that my students will be learning, whether it's identifying point of view or drawing sound conclusions. It also will have step-by-step procedures, differentiating instruction, and pacing options that we'll talk about towards the end of today's presentation. But I just want to let you know this is just simple click away. Clicking on the lesson planning will give you everything that you need to plan for this lesson. We have multiple lesson options that you can choose from to help your students access the content. So we always like to start with the preview activity to activate prior knowledge and to allow students to share their experiences and make a connection between what they're about to learn and their personal lives. We always want to make sure that we provide multiple pathways to vocabulary because we know that students that understand the vocabulary of the content will be much more successful with the content. Then we have three different lesson options. We have a hands-on activity slideshow. We have a reading with supported with the interactive student notebook. And then we have a video activity that is self-paced that the students can use for a variety of ways. It can be a sub day, a non-teacher contact day. I think Maryland was one of the few states last year that had both a hurricane day and several snow days. So the video activities provide a pathway. If students are absent from class and they miss the hands-on activity, the video activity provides a way for students to access that same content and frameworks. The preview, again, will allow students to share their experiences with the teachers and with their classmates. In this lesson, the student's essential question, why study the earth and the people who live on it? And then within the slide deck, we have our vocabulary. We also have a link that takes us straight to the vocabulary toolkit. If you click a plus button, the vocabulary will open up with the definition, and you can assign these slide decks. to the students. In the slide deck, the students can have a drag and drop opportunity that they can replay and submit over and over again if the teacher chooses to, or they can just give them two opportunities. Within TCI, every opportunity that the students have to answer a question, we always give them two chances, full credit the first attempt, half credit the second attempt, because we want them to know that it's okay if they don't get it right the first time. They're going to learn from their mistakes. So a teacher can open this up that students can practice this over and over. Also within vocabulary, you can see on the purple sidebar that I have a vocabulary card. The vocabulary card will flip, it'll have the definition. Teachers can customize vocabulary that I'll also talk about. There's a vocabulary development game, and the computer will grade the game for the teacher to help to assign it and to grade it to determine whether the students understand the vocabulary. And we'll talk about the customization of the vocabulary in just a few minutes when we talk about how you can customize the whole program. When we go back to our slide deck and we look at this activity, it's a social studies skill builder, which is one of TCI's 6 powerful teaching strategies. The social studies skill builder, I call it the peanut butter cup of TCI because chocolate's great and peanut butter is great, but when you pair it together, you get something else that's also great. And so you have social studies skills and social studies content that when you pair it together, you have an activity that really inspires the students, and they work collaboratively together. What the students will do in this activity is they're going to look at 7 different lenses of geography, history, and economics, all built into here. These are going to be the themes. And what the students will do is they're going to have placards around the room. They have 8 placards, A through H. There's 2 sets of placards, and those are included with the program. The students will roll a die, and in each side of the die, it'll have one of the placard or one of the lenses names. And then the students will walk around and they'll look at the primary source placards, and they're going to determine if these themes are represented within each of those primary source images. And so the students will read a section of text, they'll walk around the room and they'll look at these 6 images, they'll read the text on the placard, and then they'll determine which geographic lenses are represented within that image. In this one, it's the geography and the movement of people. Once they read the text, they can answer their notes right here in the slide deck, or they can do it in their print interactive student notebook. When they click on the link to read the text will come up. The students can change the Lexile level to 25% lower so that all students can access the text. If that doesn't get them 100% access, then the text can be read to them and you can change the speed of the text. Students can translate this into over 130 languages. They can find main idea, they can highlight. Here you can see your vocab cards and glossary, and you can see images with the captions. The whole program can be translated into Spanish, which is going to be trans-adaptive. So that means a human being translates it because there's so many different dialects of Spanish. But everything from the slide deck to the voiceover of the videos will be in Spanish. With the translation tool, if you highlight a section of text, if I selected Korean here, not only will that text come up in Korean, but it will also be read to them in Korean. So we want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for that multilingual student so that they can be successful as well. After the students have visited and looked at all of the different lenses and the primary sources, then the students are going to come up and they're going to list out that they have all of the different placard letters here, and the partners come up and they drag and drop whether that placard is represented by a specific lens. The lens in this case is economics and trade. So if they look at placard B and it's Hurricane Katrina and they've read the text about that, they may not think that that particular placard is representative within that lens of economics and trade. So they might put it at the lower end of the spectrum. So each group gets to come up and place their spectrum for each lens. So if we had F still needed to be placed, and the placard F, actually, I think I have that on the next slide. Placard F on the next slide is Brexit. And we look at the image and we use our visual skills and we read about what happened in 2016 when the voters United Kingdom chose to leave the European Union. So the students would read that text and they might say, like, yes, economic and trade, this image F highly connects to that lens, and they might drag it and drop it and put it in section over here on this side of the spectrum. But what I love about this activity is then the other students, not only can they come up and move each of these items around with on that spectrum, they have a very high level conversation about why they're choosing to move each of those different letters. So if a student says something about Katrina, maybe they read in the text about the levee and how the levee broke and information about how the economy affected that. They may want to move B closer to that it connects to economic and trade. Another group may want to move another letter. So it's just having that high level conversation, having students speak, and most importantly, listen with the opinion that they might change their mind. We build in speaking and listening opportunities and we debrief, and then we always provide them with an authentic writing opportunity to express their new knowledge. And we provide grading rubrics for those teachers and students. We can monitor progress and support students in a variety of formative assessments. So, not just in the processing assignment, but we have lesson games, we have primary sources embedded. And within those primary sources, this is Ronald Reagan's speech, but then we have a link to the speech. And then we ask the students some questions to help them with those primary sources that are embedded right into the lesson. And maybe they pull something out for their inquiry project. Of course, we have summative assessments. And anything you want an assessment creator to do, we can do. So if you need just two answer choices, you can modify that assessment. We want to make sure that the stimulus connects to the lesson and to the students' lives. We have social studies skills that are open-ended so that students can articulate how much they understand the content and concepts. And then the last question on every assessment is going to be answering the essential question in a product base. And then finally, we have educator support and usability. So we have a print teacher guide, just like our digital teacher guide, that has all of the overview, the lesson planning step by step, the procedures. We provide pacing options, differentiation for explicit learners like English language learners, reading and writing below needs, learners with special education needs, and advanced learners, as well as those answer guides and rubrics. You have flexible teaching options, but you can also customize your slide deck. So you can change and ask your own questions or add your own images, as well as customizing your vocab cards, where you can print them out in Spanish. You can add words, you can add images, you can create your own word walls. No matter which summative assessment option you choose, whether it's pre-test or post-test, you can create your own and share them with your professional learning communities. And then you have your parent connection toolkits, your reading and writing toolkit, your social studies toolkit, differentiation toolkit. Your parents corner is going to be located, and this is in the purple sidebar. You also have a professional development library that you can take self-paced courses to learn about integration, technology, assigning. So HQIM is important because it helps to improve student outcomes and it provides students a deeper understanding of of social studies content. It helps students perform better and it saves teacher time. What it does not do is it does not replace the teacher expertise in the classroom. If you're interested in scanning this QR code, this will give you additional information about some of the research that I've talked about in this presentation. I also want to say it goes beyond the instructional material. So, professional development, stakeholder communication, phased implementation, technology infrastructure, and ongoing support will allow HQIM material to be more effective in your districts. So at TCI, we're committed to creating and partnering with teachers in classroom to provide active inquiry-based lessons, engaging print and digital resources, and of course, ongoing support through professional development. If you're interested in piloting or accessing TCI, Geography Alive, Maryland sixth grade and eighth grade, I will put that QR code up just a second. I just saw the chat. So yes, it does come in Haitian Creole, and the numeric lexile level of A and B will be on level, and I will get that to you, Julia. So here is my contact information. Again, to experience a TCI lesson or to stay informed, if you want to grab those QR codes, you can follow us on socials at Teach TCI on Facebook and at Teach underscore TCI on Insta. You can follow us there. Or if you plan on being at the National Council for Education, National Council for Social Studies Education in Washington, D.C., December 5th through the 7th, we'd love to see you at the TCI booth. We can provide you with samples. We can share additional information with you. I do want to thank you for your time. I'm over because I'm a social studies teacher by a couple minutes, but I want to thank you. If you want to stay on, we're going to have to end the recording so we can send this out. But if you want to stay on, I will share that the QR code that you asked me for just a minute. So let me go back to that because it is such a great resource. It will talk about the impact of HQIM, how to select HQIM material. And because Maryland is one of the few states that provides a framework, it's a framework, it's not, letter by letter. So each district usually mocks it up to make sure that it meets their community needs. I know I work with several supervisors in several districts, that kind of have their own high quality instructional material evaluation that they use when looking at curriculum. And I do really encourage you to, ask me any questions. I don't have the actual numeric Lexile level, like on the top of my head, but Julia, I'll ask the content team what it is, and I will get that to you. It's a new program, so I'm not even sure if Lexile has finished evaluating it, but I will find that out for you, and we will get that information to you. So thank you guys so much. It was really great. I appreciate you spending some time at the end of your workday to spend with me. And if you need anything, I'm Deanna Morrow, Senior National Account Manager with TCI, and I definitely encourage you to reach out to me. Thank you so much. Thanks, Alicia. I appreciate it. I look forward to it.